welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Now I'm guessing by the title of this video you want me to kind of cut the crap and get to the meaty section of the video itself, the Lamborghini. And we will, but firstly, welcome to the Supercar Rooms. I've never been to this dealership before and there are incredible cars everywhere. So before we go and focus on the Gallardo Superleggera, I want to give you a quick tour of this main showroom, pointing out some of the cars that really stand out to me. And I keep looking over there because there's a Speciale Aperta. Let's go have a look. So yes, come and look at this. Ha ha ha. I mean, the Speciale Aperta is beautiful on any occasion, but this spec is really working for me. It's a very dark blue, so I'm going to guess blue Pozzi. That's me being a real Ferrari paint nerd, but sort of, yeah, inky blue. Could almost look black in certain shaded conditions. I would say that this is potentially the greatest, if not one of the greatest, modern day Ferraris. Let's say the greatest. Oh no, what about the Challenge Stradale? Oh, I've got myself in a mess. Anyway, amazing. Talking of amazing though, another amazing 458, this one an Italia, but I think the spec, again, on point. Two incredible specs. This because, firstly, it's got the triple layered yellow paint, which is lovely, but look at the interior. Can you see that? It's got the carbon race seats with harnesses, with the roll bar, full carbon driver's zone, carbon everywhere on the outside, around the front, on the side, around the back. It's just a sort of perfect example, I would have to say. And then for me, being a sort of nerd aficionado, I like to see this. It's the Ferrari Owners Club stickers, which kind of means it's probably owned by someone like me who loves Ferraris a bit too much and has taken really good care of this car. I am aware I'm really getting carried away with the whole Ferrari thing, and that is because I'm here to film a Lamborghini today, and it feels wrong. So I'm just, sorry Ferrari. I'm trying to give them as much attention as possible so they don't judge me, because I feel like they're judging me. I couldn't walk around this showroom and not show you this beast, because ever since Renault launched the R26R back in the day, I was obsessed with it, and I still am, and I really want to have a go in one because it's just ludicrous, firstly in the way it looks, but then secondly when you actually start to get into the detail of it, the components that were used, it's just so special. I mean, that's a carbon fibre hood from factory on a Renault hatchback. I mean, it's just genius. But look, if I come around here, open the door and show you inside, it's unbelievable, sort of the weight saving that went on. Full carbon bucket seats. There's a roll cage in a hatchback. Absolutely brilliant. Full manual. At some point, I've got to have a go on one of these because, as I say, teenage me would just freak out. Finally, switching the focus to Lamborghinis then, we're not quite at the Gallardo Superleggera yet, but I do want to talk about this Gallardo because this is actually a very interesting and quite special Gallardo. It's an LP550-2, and if, like me, you have no idea what that means, it's essentially a rear-wheel drive variant of the sort of Mark II Gallardo. And inside, let me come and show you, it has a manual gearbox. That makes it unbelievably desirable to someone like me. Really cool, quite rare to see. It was kind of considered your entry level, your basic Gallardo, a bit like a 911 Carrera T. You could then sort of add all the options, which people sort of did, meaning that these manual rear-wheel drive cars are pretty rare. So actually very cool to see. And an interesting comparison to the Superleggera, which, yes, we are now finally going to go and check out. Let's face it, 2020 has been a weird year. Coronavirus has affected pretty much all of our lives. I bought a BMW, and now I'm here talking about a car that could one day be my first Lamborghini. If you're thinking, Sam, you're drunk, go home, you're not entirely wrong. But look, let me let you in on a bit of a secret, because who remembers way back at the beginning of the year when I did the whole like go big or go home thing? For now, I just want to give you the sort of headline theme for STG this year, which is go big or go home. Well, as I mentioned, coronavirus made me go home, but I'm now back and I'm trying to kind of still go big this year and moving into next year. I still want to achieve some of the sort of goals I set myself. And unbelievably, you're going to be shocked, but one of my plans for this year was to, yes, buy my first Lamborghini. Essentially, Christmas last year, I was kind of reviewing, like, what do I do now post Drive the World? And I will admit, I do tend to film a few too many Ferraris and Porsches. I'm a bit predictable in that sense. And I thought, maybe I should document owning and living with a car that I don't really like, or theoretically don't really like, because I've always liked this. So yeah, that was kind of the plan. So I started to research relatively affordable Lamborghinis, and of course the early Mark 1 and some of the Mark 2 Gallardos kind of fit the sub 100k bracket. But then I started to spot a few, let's say dodgy example, Gallardo Superleggeras, also sub 100k, and I was thinking, how on earth is this car theoretically so low in value? Got more and more excited, and then yes, at the beginning of the year thought, that is it, I'm going to find myself a Mark 1 Gallardo Superleggera and document what it's like to live with as someone who's not really into Lamborghinis. However, as I've mentioned, coronavirus put a huge halt on that and so many other plans, and now I'm here about to drive this car on camera for the first time, and I'm nervous, I'm worried, because I don't think I can really afford to be buying big cars at the moment, or at least I have to bide my time a bit more. But this particular car could be my perfect Gallardo Superleggera, so I'm in a lot of trouble here. It's supposed to be a start of a potential long journey, which could become very short if I love this thing as much as I'm expecting to. So yeah, we're in trouble, but let's jump inside, let's cut to the chase and go out and talk a bit more about the Mark 1 Gallardo Superleggera. Now, I said driving one of these cars on camera for the first time because I have actually driven one before, and in fact quite recently whilst I was down at Furlonger's filming that Countach video. They had one of their customers' cars in for service, and the owner very kindly said I could have a go. I did try and film it, but I had a bit of a disaster with microphones and technical equipment. I won't bore you with it, but huge thanks to the Supercar Rooms for coming to save me with this example. But as I've hinted at, this car is kind of ticking all my personal boxes, so it feels like the right car to be filming. So talking about spec, it's sort of that iconic Superleggera, grey Lamborghini grey, I would say. Loads of sort of carbon fibre everywhere. It's got the high downforce wing. There was a sort of low downforce wing that you could get for the car, but it didn't really make sense to me. It's like having a GT3 RS and then taking the rear wing off. Actually, that sometimes looks quite good, but let's not get into it. Flappy paddle E-gear gearbox. You could get this car in manual, but as was the case with so many cars from this era, people were like, oh, manual? That's so boring. So only about, I don't know, 10, 15 cars were spec'd with a manual gearbox. Most of them had E-gear, and you know what? It suits the car. A bit like with the Challenge Stradale or the V12 Vantage S, sometimes having a sort of slow, cumbersome, single clutch gearbox in these cars from this era is right. It kind of becomes part of the car's characteristics. Over and above all of that, this car also has a custom exhaust. Now, most Gallardos and most Superleggeras from that era have got custom exhaust on, because as amazing as the 5-litre V10 sounds in this car, people just wanted to kind of amplify it a bit more, which I get. What's hilarious is the Supercar Rooms have been maintaining this car for a number of years, and they basically forced this particular exhaust on the customer, which I think is brilliant. But boy, did they know what they were doing, because this exhaust has come from Lamborghini Orange County, a place I filmed many, many times during Vlog Angeles and other trips to California. Those guys really know what they're doing, and oh my, did they make a good exhaust for this car. So let's start it up so you can hear it and then hit the open road. Superleggera, you ask? Do I need to say anything more? I mean, just listen and watch this. Oh, okay, I think most of you know I am obsessed with kind of late 90s, early noughties cars. Anything from kind of like 97, 98 through to about 2010. And this Gallardo very much fits in that kind of era. When it was launched, the Mark 1 Gallardo, it meant a lot for Lamborghini, but also the supercar world. Obviously, they'd just been purchased by Audi, the VW group, and this was kind of like the first car that theoretically had Audi's German engineering or brains and electronics, but Lamborghini's kind of flair. And the boxy shape was just kind of iconic from day one, and so popular. This car kind of just popped up in all kinds of music videos and TV shows and films, and whilst I never really went, oh, I want one of those, I recognised that it was cool, and I was like, oh, it's just nuts. And then over the years, Lambo got a little bit carried away and built about 6,000 different versions. And I don't know why, for me personally, it lost some of its appeal. I'm just gonna jump out and move some GoPros really quickly, and then we'll continue chatting. Standing outside of this car, hearing that exhaust, it's made me realise we need to do a run with the windows down. It's clearly so much louder outside than inside. So yes, let's do that right now. Windows down. How they've managed to make a V10 sound like this, I just don't get. It's a bit of an underpass here, so hold on a sec. It's honestly Formula One car levels. But yes, as modern day cars have essentially become more and more boring or sanitized, I've really been seeking out this era of supercar, what I call peak supercar. And okay, this is quite early. You could potentially say that the Mark II Gallardo was a big step forward in terms of reliability, but fundamentally the cars are relatively similar. Mark from the Supercar Rooms has actually just told me that underneath the cars are very, very different, but I don't see them as being that different. Maybe I'm just naive and uneducated in the way of Lamborghini. But yes, this is all in motion. Whilst, okay, it does have some German influence, making it relatively usable and enjoyable on a day-to-day level, it's still got silliness. That E-gear gearbox is just, I think, perfect. I actually, you know what, I have no real complaints. Some people are going to say, oh, it's a bit laggy and it kicks you in the back a bit too much, but trust me, in comparison to a Murcielago SV, this is butter smooth. And it lets you know that you've shifted a gear. Don't get me wrong, I love Porsche's PDK, but sometimes I don't even know if I've changed gear or not. This one, oh, you know, because you get a little bit of whiplash. And what I love is, there are still sort of ridiculous Lambo things. I mean, the seats are uncomfortable. I've never sat in a Lamborghini and gone, oh, this is so comfy, but they're still sporty and nice, carbon fibre everywhere, and then most of the kind of dials are in Italian, so I don't really understand what most of them mean, which is, again, yeah, my fault rather than the cars, I suppose. But no, it is the car's fault. Why aren't they in English? That would just make more sense. It's an Italian car. I'm having an argument with myself, but yeah, this car represents fun. I don't see myself using this car like I do my 360 or my 911, of course not. But it's the thing that you would take out for a short squirt when you knew it was a nice day or you had a clear run, when you could do something like this, pick it up, blast it up and down the road, and then put it back. You don't want to get stuck in traffic on the M25 in this thing. That would not be fun for anybody, I don't think. But shouldn't all supercars be toys? I know nowadays you can daily them, you can use a 488, a 720S, whatever it might be, as if it was a Fiesta. But that takes away some of the specialness for me. I want my supercars to be this mad. And I just think if I'm going to get into the Lambo thing, this is kind of right, because it excites me. It reminds me of, not my childhood, but my teenage years. And it's still got something about it. But at the same time, it's not as ludicrous and ridiculous as a Murcielago or one of these stupid limited edition later Gallardos that made no sense, basically had a lick of paint. This was the first Superleggera, and it was a proper something. It wasn't a gimmick, it wasn't a different wheel or a silly name. It meant something. It meant super light, track focused, hardcore. And weirdly, I really remember the Top Gear episode when Clarkson drove one, and I went back and watched it the other day, and I was shocked to find he drove a manual, low downforce car. What a weird car for Lamborghini to give him, because at the time, manuals really weren't desirable. And then to have low downforce, again, that's not what the Superleggera was really all about. You wanted that wing for when you took it on track. So that made no sense to me. I think if I had one of these cars, I would want it in this specification. And why is this car in particular so appealing to me? Well, I've always said if I was to go ahead and buy a Lamborghini, I would kind of need like a Ferrari collector or Porsche collector's Lambo, a car that has been meticulously maintained as if it were a Ferrari or a Porsche, not one that's an ex-rental and got loads of, you know, bits hanging off it and custom badges and whatever. I want as clean an OEM factory car as possible, and that's what this is. In fact, it has a rather famous previous owner, Eric Clapton. Yes, Eric frickin' Clapton, a man who knows his cars, looks after his cars, and therefore has made sure that this Gallardo Superleggera had some amazing early years, and then owners after that has also ensured that it's been very well looked after. The Supercar Rooms have done the maintenance on it, I think, for the last 3 years or so, and it's immaculate, it's perfect, everything looks great, and as I'm experiencing, it drives so nicely. Got a chance to do a bit of a launch here. Off we go. Oh my God, and it's quick enough. It's quick, it's not quick, but it's quick enough. That four-wheel drive just bites in and sends you on your way. It does feel a bit lively, that's quite exciting. I've heard some stories that these things can be handfuls, but again, another reason why I like it. Yes. Do you understand now? I'm sure lots of you understand. Maybe you're just like, Sam, how did it take you so long to realise how special these cars are? I don't know how it took me so long. I'm an idiot, clearly, because it's brilliant. I realise I probably didn't need to explain to you guys why I've been lusting after a Gallardo Superleggera recently, because the car is just awesome. Who doesn't lust after one? But it may have come as a surprise to some of you because, well, I've never really talked about my desire for a Lambo on the channel. In fact, I've been quite rude about them in the past. However, on my podcast, Behind the Glass, which if you're not listening to, what are you doing with your lives? I have kind of been hinting at the fact that I've been considering a Mark 1 Gallardo Superleggera. Is it going to join my garage anytime soon? I don't know. I'll be honest, when I did the 911 Carrera T going up for sale video, I mentioned the fact that I'm trying to sort of release some money to enable me to do goals I set myself earlier in the year. And whilst this was a goal for 2020, it's not the main goal. And basically it would take all the money from the Carrera T to go into this car, and then what have I got myself? Just a Lambo that I might actually end up realising is not as ideal as I thought. Who knows? I don't know. I'm confused. But fundamentally, we're going to have to wait and see. I am going to be driving another Mark 1 Gallardo Superleggera in a few weeks' time, but quite a special one. So stay tuned for that. And maybe before I take the plunge into the world of Lambo, maybe I need to try a few others. Because if this car is as good as it is, how much better is a Mark II? Or what about that 550-2 back at the Supercar Rooms, that manual one? Maybe that's amazing. Oh my God, maybe there's a whole world that I just haven't experienced yet and I've been blind to. So let's see. But comment below if you think I should go all in, forget everything else I'm doing with my life, forget the fact I've got a mortgage to pay, and yes, purchase this or any Gallardo Superleggera. Give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and make sure to stay subscribed for plenty more videos to come.